How many times have you said, put your shoes away or put your books away, and 5 minutes later they are still here? What if the problem isn't disobedience, but that the habit was never taught? Hello everyone, welcome to Living Books Homeschooling. Today I want to share with you my attempts at habit training the Charlotte Mason way. What to do and what not to do using real examples of habits I worked on with my boys. Charlotte Mason said we are all mere creatures of habit. We think our accustomed thoughts and go through the common task without any self-determining effort of will at all. She even asserts that the possibility of all education is based upon this power of the nervous system to organize conscious actions into more or less unconscious operations. She used the metaphor of a rut, and I quote, "Given that the constant direction of the thoughts produces a certain set in the tissue of the brain, this set is the first trace of the rut or path, a line of least resistance, along which the same impression made another time will find it easier to travel than to take another path. So arises a right of way for any given habit of action or thought." Now, neuroscience since the last 100 years may have new terms to explain what she described here. But I think we all recognize the power of habits in our own life. What is your first action upon waking up each morning? Is it to grab your phone? If so, do you always open the same app first, be it emails or weather, Facebook or Bible app? Our life is built upon millions of small habits like these. For example, each time I drive out of our garage, I lift my hand and click the garage door remote control I have in the car. But oftentimes, I was deep in my thoughts when driving, so before exiting the neighborhood, I would suddenly wake up from my thoughts and wonder, did I close the garage door? But each time I went back to check, the door was closed because my finger went to click the remote control out of habit without me even thinking about it. Similarly, our kids are constantly forming habits, whether we consciously guide them or not. From the habit of shutting doors or not behind them, to putting away or not their shoes and coats, to focusing or not during their lessons. That is why Charlotte Mason believed that the formation of right habits constitutes 1/3 of a child's education, that developing good habits of attention, obedience, truthfulness, diligence, etc. was as essential as learning knowledge or cultivating the mind. That is also why I wanted to focus on habit training in this video, not only to secure smooth and easy days for our homeschool for years to come, but also and more importantly to lay down the rails that will benefit our children for their whole life. I will first summarize the steps to take for habit training with the example of shutting doors that Charlotte Mason gave. Then I will share with you how I try to apply this in our daily life with my boys, focusing on the habit of putting away their shoes in this video, and then on the habit of obedience and the habit of attention in a following video. In CM's example of shutting doors, the mother first tells Johnny in a friendly voice that he shall always shut the door behind him from then on. The reason for this and that she will try to remind him if he forgets. Then, when Johnny does forget, the mother does not cry out, "Come back and shut the door," which, according to Charlotte Mason, is exasperating and doesn't help Johnny form the habit himself, since he is only doing what he's told to do at the moment. Instead, her mother only calls Johnny in a pleasant voice and looks at the door so that Johnny gets the hint and remembers to shut it by himself. In another example of a little girl learning to tie shoelaces without dawdling, Charlotte Mason says the girl meets her mother's eyes, which look hopeful and expectant. So the mother is to show a positive, encouraging attitude during the process instead of being critical. Back to Johnny, the key for her mother is to never let him go out without shutting the door, and never let this become a friction between herself and the child. This, of course, is highly demanding of the mother in terms of both time and attention, and I would say that is one of the biggest difficulties I encountered when applying habit training at our own home. Because no matter which habit we are working on, it's so hard to be always on the watch throughout the day and catch each incident while I'm also homeschooling or cooking or checking emails or answering the phone or just talking with another child. But Charlotte Mason compared habit training to caring for a sick child. If one of my children is gravely ill and needs care, won't I push everything else aside and make way for it and give my best to care for my child? In the same way, habits are as important to the child's moral and intellectual health as tending to illness is to their physical health. Now, suppose the mother did work vigilantly on this habit for a few weeks, and Johnny begins to shut the door behind him automatically. Another great danger arises, a mistake I have also committed, as you will see in my next examples. The mother, out of unreasonable pity, to use CM's words, thinks that Johnny has been working so hard on this and deserves a break. Or maybe because of omission or this or other reason, she lets him sleep for one time and another time, and very quickly the contrary habit forms and we are back to the start, and poor Johnny has to work on this habit all over again instead of shutting the door automatically as he has been starting to do. So consistency and persistence are key. After reading CM's volumes, I wanted to start habit training with a physical habit rather than a moral one. I thought this would be simpler, so we began with putting shoes on the shoe rack when entering the house, instead of leaving them all over the floor. I began by gathering my boys around the entrance, letting them know we will be working on this habit, showing them exactly where they are to put their shoes, and then I just had to stand nearby each time they came in and wait for them to put their shoes away. Since this habit is very location specific, I don't even have to speak. They quickly realize what is the thing they forgot to do, why mommy is blocking the way, and they are not allowed to enter the house yet. And since there are a limited number of times for them to enter the house each day, it's easier for me to always be there. Now, if I picked putting away books after reading them to start with, it will be slightly harder since they could be reading anytime during the day when I don't notice or when I'm cooking. So it's harder for me to catch them not putting books away. On the contrary, I'll usually know or even be there with them when they enter the house. So now that I think about it, putting shoes away is a good habit to start with. Hanging coats up when entering the house would be another similar one. So after a few weeks, it actually worked. They may be having live discussions while entering the house, but their hands still automatically put away their shoes. I was so amazed and so happy. That's when I made the mistake of letting it slip. I wasn't feeling the unreasonable pity like Charlotte Mason said, but I thought too soon that they had this habit down, that my work was done. So I wasn't watchful anymore. I was busy putting away groceries or some other things. And one day, suddenly I saw shoes on the floor again. Thankfully, maybe I caught it not too late. They were back on track very fast. But I kept an eye for this for a long time afterwards, and still do now from time to time, just making sure they are not slipping out of their good habit. Thank you for watching today's video. Hope this has shown you that habit training matters and does work. In a follow-up video I'll upload in a few days, I'll talk about our experience of working on 2 foundational habits for children, the habit of obedience and that of attention. If you have any questions or anything you want me to address concerning habit training, please let me know in the comments. Thanks again and hope to see you soon.